Hello everyone and welcome back to another Pony and Wolf Productions video. I am your host, Visual Pony, and today we are reading the story Words on a Page by Tranquil Serenity. I was a little bit intrigued by the cover picture, as always, and by the short description of it. Also, I'm a huge fan of Spike. I just like him, most underused character. And I feel so bad for him that even the show writers said at a panel one time, we just don't know what to do with Spike. And I think that's really, really bad because, he's like in the main group, he's the only male character and he could bring a good chunk of balance and, interesting stuff, and they just write him as a comic relief. And I think the Spike deserves better. Hashtag, justice for Spike. Anyhow, as always, I will remind you that I have not read this story beforehand. I have not looked into it any further than the short description, so I will discover it together with you. And today, I would be very honored if today would be the day where I earned your subscription, where we earned your subscription. The feather duster brushed back and forth, sliding across the wood desk with a rhythm in tune with the song Spike was singing as he cleaned. Today he had been decidedly thorough with his tidying, this time finding himself diligently at work in Starlight Glimmer's room in the palace. He lifted a small porcelain unicorn figure to get the dust beneath it, placing it gently back afterwards. He smiled in satisfaction at his work thus far. The room was practically gleaming, or glimmering, as the case may be. Suddenly, however, the little dragon noticed something. "Aha!" he said out loud. "Thought I would miss you there, didn't you?" The recipient of his words was an inanimate object that had just fallen into his line of sight. Namely, a sloppy off-center bedsheet. "Not on my watch, blanket!" he announced in jovial determination, approaching the bed. Reaching out to readjust the rebel comforter, however, his right foot struck against some unknown, lightweight object, and he felt the impact cause it to push something further underneath the bed. "Huh?" Spike bent down, reaching a claw under and feeling around. Grasping something, he pulled the mystery item out and held it aloft to get a good look. "A book?" It really wasn't surprising to see one of these in the castle, let alone in Starlight Glimmer's room. But under her bed? That was a little strange. Not that Spike had made a habit of looking underneath ponies' beds, mind you. It's just that it really wasn't the place for a book. Starlight knew how important every scroll and hardcover in Twilight's library was. And yet this one was just tossed underneath a piece of furniture to gather dust? Spike opened the purple cover and scanned the page. It definitely wasn't a printed book. Whether it had been written by a unicorn's horn, a pony's mouth, or the claw of some other creature, he couldn't say. But the fact that it had been made in such a way, and was likely the only copy in existence, just made it all the more valuable. Spike would have to talk with Starlight about this. "Clyde and the Lost Pearl of Trotting Hoof by Astral Mist." Spike blinked. He didn't recognize the title or the author, but it was probably one of those books from that box Twilight had received early yesterday morning. The books had been so small in number that she'd ended up putting them all away on the shelves without needing to ask for assistance. Well, he'd been cleaning for a good while, and now that he had a new book in his claw, he figured he might as well read it. It sounded like the perfect way to relax after all that work. And who knows? It could just turn out to be really good. The little dragon sat down on the floor, turned to the next page, and began to read. The stallion laughed heartily, for after an adventure such he's had, the lessons he'd learned had helped him not only to come to appreciate life, but also the insurmountable number of wonderful little moments it was made up of, each one just making it all more worth the living. The end. Spike smiled contentedly as he closed the book. It had only taken him a few hours to finish, and the story had been amazing. Clyde was a great action hero, and the story had ended so well. Spike would have to ask Twilight to order some more stories by April Mist right away, and hopefully the book he'd just read had a sequel too. The little dragon stood up and stretched after sitting for so long. Then he turned to head out the door with the book in his claw. Abruptly, however, the door swung open and in walked Starlight Glimmer.
"Oh, hey Spike, what you doing?"
The unicorn's expression had gone from nonchalant to panicked in just a matter of split seconds, and her volume as her sentence changed from cohesive to desperate gorilla was increased astronomically.
"Ow!"
Spike said, rubbing an ear.
"I was just heading downstairs to put this old book away. I found it on the floor while I was cleaning. Starlight, you should really treat Twilight's books better, and my ears wouldn't mind a little more consideration as well." "Oh, you found it while cleaning just now?"
Starlight grinned broadly, her tone nervous.
"Yes, definitely. I will totally be more careful with Twilight's books. Why don't you just give it to me and I'll put it back where it belongs?" "Nah, I'm headed down there now anyways. No point in you bothering." "But..."
Beads of sweat slid down her forehead.
"I haven't finished with it yet,"
she blurted out.
"Oh."
Spike paused.
"Well, seeing as you haven't finished reading it yet, I suppose I could give it back to you. As long as you agree to take better care of it this time." "Oh, I promise,"
Starlight agreed, quickly reaching out a hoof for him to give it back to her.
"Say, what part are you at?"
Spike asked curiously. Starlight froze.
"Part? Yeah, what part?"
The unicorn's eyes twitched.
"Spike, did you..."
She gulped.
"Read it?" "Did I ever?"
he exclaimed enthusiastically.
"I couldn't put it down. Clyde was incredible, the way he started off as a lowly scholar pony and then ended up getting caught up in the mystery of the Lost Pearl. And then there were all these villains trying to get at him and... Oh, right, you haven't finished it yet, have you?"
Spike grinned sheepishly. Starlight Glimmer laughed nervously.
Nope. "Oh, well, anyways, it was really good. You'll really like it."
Spike passed the book to his friend on his way out, and with the door only half closed behind him, he peeked out and said,
"Say, I'm going to ask Twilight to see if she can find any more April Mist stories. If she does, I'll let you know too."
Starlight smiled warmly over her shoulder at him.
"Thanks, Spike." "No problem,"
he chirped back in reply, just before tightly closing the door behind him and bounding down the palace stairs. Starlight Glimmer turned to look at the novel in her forehoofs, cradling the lavender cover with a strange sense of wonder, as if she were looking at it for the first time. She opened it up to the title page. Clyde and the Lost Pearl of Trottinghoof by April Mist. She thought about those words for a moment. Then the glint of decision shone in her eyes. Her horn lit up with her magic, and she enveloped the quill pen on her desk with its teal aura. Dipping the feather point in the inkwell, she brought it in close and crossed out the pen name, writing something in just beneath it. With a sense of deep satisfaction, she read the new inscription, her smile wide and her heart full. Clyde and the Lost Pearl of Trottinghoof by Starlight Glimmer. The unicorn closed the book and hugged it close to her chest.
"Now I'm finished,"
she said contentedly. Hello and welcome back to Comment Time with Visual Pony, where I'll remind you that you can support Pony and Wolf Productions with links down in the description below. Every dollar helps is needed and very much appreciated and it helps to keep the lights on around here, and you want to keep the lights on around here, right? Anyhow, let's get into the meat of the story, because I am certainly not the Micro Machines Man. Am I the Micro Machines Man? I have no idea if I'm the Micro Machines Man, and I will have to record some more today, so let's get into the meat of the story before my voice totally breaks. So, what do I have to say here, guys? I know situations like this, when someone is just suddenly reading something that you left out. And I can tell you, as a hobbyist writer myself, that a lot of these things are usually not very much appreciated. For example, I once wrote a story about a guardian angel, and I left the Word doc open on my computer while I went outside to have a smoke. And my father, ever the nosy pants and thinking that he can do stuff better than others, saw that. I had my reasons why that Word document was usually password protected. So at that point I forgot. And when I came back, he just had this shit-eating grin on his face. And I'm like, okay, what's the matter? What did you do? And he told me that he had, quote-unquote, improved my story and challenged me to find the change he had made. I must say at this point that I had, at this particular point in time, been 300 pages in that story. Okay? I had been outside for roughly 20 minutes, having not only one, but actually 2 smokes, and talking on the phone with a friend. So when I came back in and wanted to continue writing, and he telling me this, I was devastated. This was the only copy of the story that I had. There was no backup copy of it. And he had just messed with it, and no matter how much I pleaded with him, he wouldn't tell me what he changed. Anyhow, sincerely yours, Visual Pony, and let me know if you have stories like that in the comments down below. I'm looking forward to reading them.